educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work podcast, where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Thank you very much for tuning in today. We have a very interesting individual with us today that has transitioned to a whole new life, that some of us wish we could have. She is a fused glass artist. After 35 years in the corporate sector, she took a creative leap and found her passion of fused glass art. Her journey began with a single class despite her initial self-doubt about having an artistic talent. Now, to her surprise, she discovered a knack for working with glass and embraced the imperfect beauty of her creations. Recognizing a gap in the market for unique and handmade gifts, she found Glass Arts Collective, a local glass art studio. Here, she's going to share with her passion, hopefully that you feel enabled to make that transition for yourself. And I appreciate y'all for coming on today. I introduce to you Nancy Marks. Nancy, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, Maurice, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I've watched your other episodes and I really like you. Thank
you. So Nancy, as we talked about this transition, right? And I hope that some of you will listen to some of her other episodes and other podcasts she's been on. And we talk about this transition and having a space of being surprised about glass art. So I'm going to give y'all this example, and then I'm going to let Nancy take over. She talks about how she was having a class, and this parent was there with her child, right? And the parent decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go over here and do work. Most of us will do, right? We want somebody to babysit our kid for a hot second, right? But she encouraged this parent to come on over and do this glass, and then all of a sudden, she fell in love with it. So Nancy, sometimes these type of places and challenges and, hey, we want to do something else, but something that takes us out of our comfort zone, we end up loving it. So how about for something like this, like for yourself, that you fell into something that you actually love?
I actually was, I never thought I had a creative bone in my body. Mm-hmm. I can't draw a stick figure, but whose body looks like a stick figure anyways?
Right.
But it was my mom who actually got me into this. Happy Mother's Day. We're just a little before that right now. But mom is in an assisted living facility, and they had someone coming on site teaching fused glass, and I'd never heard of it. And I was still in my corporate world, and my husband owned the company, and he'd been talking about retiring, but I just figured I'd jump to another corporate job afterwards. I wasn't thinking anything else. And I took the class because I wanted something to do with my mom.
Okay.
So I was literally one of those people who delayed booking it, dragged my feet, and was going to cancel the class. I mean, all those thought process things that run through your head when you forget the real reason you're doing it. And I laughed at myself while I was driving to the class, and I said, Mom really doesn't care if I'm good at this or not. Mom is just going to be happy to have something else we can do together, and I'm going to be thrilled to have something else to do with her. So you know what? I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to step up and ignore all that self-talk that we all have much too much of.
Right.
And I took the class, and I was so surprised. I mean, I was totally blown away. I really had no idea what I was doing, but I was playing with colors, which I really enjoyed. And I didn't cut everything just straight or anything else. But when I went back a week later to go pick up my piece, because it has to get fired in a kiln, I looked at it and I was so dumbfounded. That's what I made. It was like, wow, I like this. I'm like, I like what I made. And once again, I forgot all about Mom. I didn't even show it to her right away. And I remembered the reason I was doing it. And so I ran over and said, Mom, I forgot to show you this. And this is what I made in fused glass. And oh my gosh, I understand why you love it so much. And that's how I got hooked.
So because that's totally out of your comfort zone, like you said, being corporate America, corporate job, and finding something that most people don't even know about. People don't know about fused glass art, or if
Yeah.
that's something that the average person can do, because sometimes you think those type of things, you need a certain type of skill. Dealing, like you said, with the flame, that's what 18 billion degrees, you need that, so for something like that, and being able to show your creative space, how were you able to infuse that as an entrepreneur or even in a corporate America setting?
It's kind of funny because I am sort of an outside of the box thinker.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately thought of it was making things as a thank you gift to some of the customers for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our more prominent customers, the ones who we had more of a relationship with, and they were, I hate to use the word blown away because that's a TV show about blown glass,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not what we do here. But they were just so surprised to get a handmade gift
Mm-hmm.
and to see their faces light up to have been given such a precious gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it because I loved it. I didn't really think of it as being this really precious gift
Mm-hmm.
until they made this really big deal about it. And it felt great. Um, but what part of what I found with doing this while working as well, and it's the same thing as the story you told about the mom,
Mm-hmm.
is that when you're doing, and it doesn't even have to be fused glass, any type of hobby that, and art is just a great example, you embrace it, you focus on it, you take your mind off of everything else,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden your mind is cleared. You're
Mm-hmm.
relaxed. And that particular mom went home to finish the project she had to do. And she called me the next day to tell me that she got it done in a fraction of the time because she was clear headed, focused, and felt so good that
Mm-hmm.
the answers just kind of came to her. And she just got the job done really quickly. So she thanked me for encouraging her
Mm-hmm.
to take the time to do something for herself.
So how important is it to, and no matter where you are, as an entrepreneur, a parent, whatever it is, to take a moment like that, that's totally unexpected, to finally find a way to relax, to enjoy life, to smell the roses, if you will, how important is that in your everyday life?
It wasn't something I discovered when I should have. I was a single parent for a long time. I got divorced when my daughter was young and had a great relationship with her, but
Mm-hmm.
she was my focus. It was my job second. And if I was lucky, there was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make time for me. And making time for me does not mean I'm going to go take 3 days off or I'm going to go, do something, but even 15 minutes, a half an hour. And one
Mm-hmm.
of the things I learned, and my daughter was so awesome about it, is when I came home from work, I told my daughter I needed 15 minutes to turn
Mm-hmm.
off being the business person
Mm-hmm.
and to turn on being mommy. So just give me 15 minutes and I'll hear everything she wants me to hear and I'll be there for 100%.
Right.
And telling myself it was okay to have that 15 minutes to do that transition
Mm-hmm.
was mind blowing for me.
Mm-hmm.
What a difference it made. And whether it was not just changing clothes,
Mm-hmm.
but just taking a few deep breaths and just thinking about all the fun things I wanted to hear my daughter was doing and things we were going to do that evening or that afternoon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It just lit me up. And it was like anything that had happened prior no longer mattered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody got mad at me. Oh, well, who cares? You know,
Right.
I made a typo. Oh, shucks.
Right.
Okay. I didn't carry it with me.
Right.
And that was pretty phenomenal
Mm-hmm.
lesson to learn. So I tried to carry that forward and I tried to, as I moved up the totem pole in corporate,
Mm-hmm.
making sure my team knew that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned to look at people and recognize if they were out of sorts. I couldn't tell you why they were out of sorts. I could just tell their energy was not quite right.
Right.
And I'd ask them if everything was okay. And if they did a good job, I made a point to tell them they did a good job or I appreciated what they did. And I really viewed my employees as part of my family, if you want. But, I cared about them and I let them know that. And that was huge. That, that recognition. I used to laugh that you should never have to wait till your review to find out what I think of you and how you're doing. You should know all the way through that year exactly how you're doing. If you're off on something, if you're doing great on something, where you're at. There shouldn't be surprises on a review. And I had too many times there were surprises on my review that I wasn't expecting, and I didn't even know really where they came from. And it was like, I spent so much time thinking about that, wasted too much time thinking about that. So, it's recognizing, taking care of not only yourself, but people around you. So my daughter was my best role model for that. What a difference it made for her and how it made me feel. And I realized I wanted to carry that to other people as well.
So some of the things we were talking about are the pleasant surprises, of thinking outside the box, right? And sometimes we tend to lean towards some of the negative side in some cases. But can you explain to the listeners today maybe one challenge that you might have occurred in transitioning into a new industry, into this craft of fused art, that, hey, you know what, maybe I didn't believe in myself, I don't have a conference or whatever it is, and how you've been able to transition that to where you are today?
I am a go for it type of person. So there was a studio that was in town that I enjoyed going to, and they decided to close this location. They had another location and they decided to close this location. And it was like, well, what am I going to do? My husband had just sold the business and we were working our last required amount of time with the new owners. And it's like, what am I going to do? I need that in my life. And my husband goes, you've been running my business for the last, 15 years. He goes, you know how to run a business. I thought, okay. And I stepped back and I thought about all the different jobs I've had in my career. And they ranged all over the place in all kinds of departments. But there were a few things that came across for me as I did my self-evaluation.
Okay.
I took my job very seriously. If you told me I was responsible for the budgets, I was responsible for the budgets.
Okay.
And if I didn't understand something that was asked of me, I asked for clarification.
Okay.
If something didn't make sense to me, I asked for clarification. So when I went to start my own business, the biggest thing in my head at first was, okay, let's break down parts of the business. I know how to run a business. Most artists don't. Okay, so my strong suit is running a business. What I'm not as good at yet is all the different levels of fused glass classes and teaching. So I don't have to know it all. I don't have to be able to do it all. And I brought on friends who were stronger in a lot of categories of art that I'm not or wasn't at the time. And we talked about my goals, my dreams for the studio, how I'd like things kind of handled, the direction, asked for input, and we together created what is now Glass Arts Collective. And I opened 5 weeks before COVID. So if you want to jump to the, oh my goodness, self-doubt, questioning myself, what in the world did I just get into? I have a brick and mortar facility with a lease, and I just ordered all this inventory and new equipment. And now I am completely shut down. So after all of the self-talk, which was very, very, very negative, I reminded myself something I was told by more than two or three people. Don't take yourself too seriously and don't listen to the self-talk because our self-talk is rarely ever positive.
Right. Right.
So I said, okay, I'm in this situation. I can't change it. There was no way to predict it. I don't have a crystal ball. So I started laughing because through my career, one of the things that I always said to myself was, I wish I had more time. There aren't enough hours in the day. If only I could, if only I had more time. Well, now I've been gifted with the weirdest gifting, but I was gifted the time to learn more techniques of fused glass and to become more proficient at it and to decide if the products that I picked were the right products, which, by the way, they were. Sorry, got a little, pat on the back there. But I did a lot of work with online classes. There are some phenomenal artists around the world that teach fused glass classes online. And I would just be here in my studio and I would be following along and I would be doing it and I would learn more and I would try different things. And I've always hated the phrase they say. Are they?
Right.
And what do they know? So if they say I can't do it, boy, do I want to try. So I really pushed the envelopes really through my entire career of things that I was doing in my different jobs. And every job seemed to build on the next job I went to. It wasn't planned, but it really did. And all of those jobs benefited me here. The thing I didn't learn was marketing. I did not learn publicity marketing in any of my positions in corporate. So what am I doing? I'm taking classes online.
Nice.
It's like I can't change what is, but I can change how I handle it. And I can work towards making what I'm going to do next better. And so I have membership program here. I've got 13 artists, and because I can make changes as I go, because I don't have to report up to a lot of people.
Right.
I realized that these wonderful artists, some are much better than I am, and I am just as proud as can be because they started here the first time. And so I realized they have no place to sell their stuff. They're all still working. They don't have the time to create their own online sales. So I added them to my gift shop that I have. It was brick and mortar still at that point. I hadn't been online yet. But I have since loaded up over 500 pieces of art into the gift shop that's on my website.
Nice.
And I am offering their art along with mine. So there is a much larger variety of handmade, one-of-a-kind gifts in my gift shop. And they are so appreciative because it wasn't all about me. I looked at the bigger picture. What can I do for them? I do a lot of donations. I can't do every donation that's made of me requests, but I do a lot of them and give back to the community. And I just feel so blessed. I am and honored, and I mean, I'm kind of giddy about it because I'm having so much fun.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't feel like a job. I mean, that old phrase that I heard all my life, if you find something that you really love, you never work a day in your life. That's exactly how I feel.
That's nice. Like you said, most people don't have that experience, especially when you're talking about, some of the things that you talked about, which is changing industry. Then you go and talk to people that are quote unquote smarter than you. And sometimes our ego gets caught up in that. And we're not sure how we're able to outsource some of the work, have a think tank, all those type of things. Sometimes we get a little too be on edge with something like that. And then to the point of now where you are, You've overcome all of that. You've overcome even a pandemic, if you will, which is, again, some people had to fold because of what was going on. And you're saying you were only 5 months in, and and then now you were able to weather the storm. Some people are not in that space mentally to figure that part out. But then now you're at a place where you're actually allowing your students an opportunity to showcase their stuff to the world, ultimately giving back one way or another. Now, so here's a thing I would like to ask before I let you go. How important has it been for you to give back, not just to the students, even to the community, to the world, but even to yourself in this too? Because like you said, you're not working a day, right? So how important has this been in this journey?
It's been phenomenal. And you're right, the ego does get in the way. I remember one of my earlier jobs, and I don't remember quite. And I mean, I worked for very large corporations, the ones that, everybody knows the names of. And I would be in a department, I would be told I had to do something. And everybody would be frustrated in the whole line of who had to touch it because it never came the way they wanted. It didn't go the way they wanted. And I brought the teams together, even from other departments. I talked to the department managers first. I'd ask permission. I'd bring the teams together so everybody understood what everybody else was doing with that same information. And the ego learned very quickly that I don't know better than everybody else. I'm only as good as the weakest link. And if I can help anybody get past that weakest link and look at the bigger picture, I'm thrilled. And so this is a little different version of it now.
Right.
But I look at the same type of thing. What is it that I can help these people do that they're frustrated? They now have all this lovely glass that they're making and they don't know what to do with it. Their friends have been given quite a few pieces already and gifts.
Right.
So what else can I do? So where do I turn? Okay, well, what do we have? What's available to me? What's available to them?
Right.
And just put the pieces together. And I get so much joy out of it. I get so much, when you donate stuff, you get a thank you note.
Nice.
But,
nice touch.
That's nice. But when the person comes in who either is using the gift certificates or who received in the auction, the piece, and they want to come in and I've had several people ask me what the story is behind that piece of art. And sharing the story is phenomenal.
Nice.
And I've had people come back from my first opened, which is over 4 years ago.
Okay.
And they'll come in and tell me about a piece they had bought back then and tell me about how, every holiday they bring that particular platter or bowl out and they tell the story. If it's not the same people every time, they tell the story behind the bowl. And, it was handmade and it was made, with love. And everyone, it's almost like there was an old marketing thing of E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton stop, everybody listens to hear what E.F. Hutton has to say. And I kind of think that that's kind of the way they word it.
Okay.
That their friends all stop all the other conversations going on and they want to hear the story.
Nice.
And they have questions and they're engaged. And it just makes that party or opportunity with friends just even that much more personal.
Yes, it does. It does.
And I still tear up a bit when people come in and tell me these stories, even though I've heard several of them, because it just means I've made even a little difference in someone's life. You know what? That is the greatest gift of all.
Wow. Wow, Nancy. I appreciate you coming on. So, Nancy, listen, I need you to share with everyone, where can they find these show-stopping pieces of art, that changes the dynamic, that changes the atmosphere? Where can they find these products?
So it's I have my own gift shop on my own website, because to go on the other ones, you still have to do marketing. So why not market for myself?
Right.
So it's glass arts with an S, collective.com.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see all the classes I have. I don't offer online classes. So if you're in the LA area, please come by and visit and tell me you heard me on Maurice's show. But you can also go online now and purchase. We ship throughout the United States.
Okay.
And we package it very carefully with love. And you'll be so surprised because most of the stuff is food safe.
Okay.
So it's not like only things on the wall, but we have things for the wall. We have things for the table. We have things for your office. We have, something to put your rings in. Almost name anything, and we've got something for you. We will also do commission work. So just reach out, and we'll talk about that too.
Nice. Now, Nancy, of course, I got to ask you my world favorite question before I let you go, right? So it's the would you rather question, even though I've already asked and I kind of already know your answer, but would you rather choose 3 doors or a fork in the road?
I would rather pick the fork in the road.
Now, here's the thing I don't know. Why would you choose that?
Because I've had many forks in the road in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that when I have to stop and just kind of look one way or the other, I'm pretty excited because I know there's going to be an adventure either direction.
Mm-hmm. And I must say that, listen to your story. It has been. And I encourage anyone, please research Nancy. Listen to her other podcast episodes. They're fun and energetic, just like today. I hope that y'all have really been encouraged by what she has to say because it's encouraging to me. But Nancy, thank you very much.
Thank you. I enjoy our conversations, even when we're not on the podcast.
Right. But thank y'all very much for listening to That Will Never Work. And I will talk to you a little later.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at Chisholm Group LLC and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work, or will it?